Hey you, before the video starts, consider dropping a like, a comment, and maybe consider subscribing. This really does help the channel grow. On to the video. Howdy folks, it is I, Idleon Zed, a few days late on making an Arcane Cultist guide walkthrough like I normally do on day one. I have to say I was incredibly burnt out from editing videos, so that's the reason you guys didn't get a day one update. I apologize, but I was still very active in the Discord, kind of shooting the stuff with people and talking strategy and discussing what's best to do. Now, I did stream that day a little bit, so I was there streaming. I went through a little bit of the beginning, and we found some stuff that we found to be problematic. So we'll discuss all of that stuff, discuss the very basic information that we have about Arcane Cultist, how to start it, when you should start it, if you should start it, if it's good, is it bad, all that stuff and all the different changes and such. But yeah, I was just burnt out from editing the free-to-play speedrun. I want you to know it took me roughly about 3 days worth of progress because I don't edit all day, every day, all the time. Cutting it into my work schedule or my weekend just kind of sucked. So that's why I didn't get to making a video like this. Anyways, wanted to make a video because I normally do. And I kind of feel like I owe you one now. I owe you guys a video like this anyways. So let's just jump into the video and talk about Arcane Cultist. And first, how to acquire it like we do the other masterclasses. First of all, I got to get out of the Cultist form. So going over to World 6, going to map 4, the Baby Trolls map where Masterius is, as always. You talk to him. No, looks like I have a... Hold on. I gotta test something. Is this a coin dupe? Coin dupe trick? Not like it matters because you get more coins from this anyways, from killing regular mobs. Dang it. Okay. I thought I completed this quest earlier, but apparently I guess I didn't. Anyways, so what you need to do is just talk to him, and similar to both Deathbringer and Windwalker, it will have you follow your inner voice. And the inner voice for this class is actually extremely easy. Well, depends. You need to kill 400 tremor worms within, I think, 200 seconds. It's within a time frame. Basically, you can just teleport over to the tremor worms map, click on auto like you normally do for cranium cooking, and just let it run. It'll give you a kill counter, like how many you have left to kill, with 90 seconds left on the clock. And I think 30 seconds left on the clock, the inner voice will pop up saying, oh, you have 90 seconds left and you have 100 kills left to do, or something like that. But if you get 400 kills within that 200 seconds and you get that voice prompt, it'll say, oh, you have 0 kills left to do in 90 seconds. So you're like effectively done with the quest, but it doesn't like trigger. So you have to wait out the full timer. I can't remember exactly the time I'm saying. 200 seconds, it could be less than that. But essentially you have to wait out that full timer, and then it'll proc the quest for you. And then all you need to do is just go back to the map, the Baby Trolls map, talk to Masterius, and voila, you are now an Arcane Cultist. So obviously this is the Bubo class. This is the Bubo Masterclass. So you'd have to do this on your Bubo. Now I do want to say the actual class for unlocking, or sorry, the quest for unlocking the Arcane Cultist already starts with a little bit of a problem, because you need to kill a lot of tremor worms very quickly. So I hesitate to say if everyone can do this off the bat. If you're fresh into World 6 and like trying to get your masterclass as quickly as possible, I suspect you're not going to be able to do this quest, simply because your respawn range on this might be a little bit low. You might not have 200 tentacle. You might not have like 300 tentacle. Your talent levels are pretty low. Your auspicious aura range is low. Your sizzling skull level is pretty low, which we'll talk about these in just a second, because auspicious aura was changed a little bit in the update. So you might be running into issues actually killing the 400 mobs and 400 tremor worms, or sorry, I should say crystal mobs. I don't believe count for this. It's only tremor worms. So with that being said, I want to give a little bit of a warning. Arcane Cultist is not for early game players. It is not for mid game players. Even if you are somehow able to complete the quest and start Arcane Cultist, chances are there's a strong possibility, if your talent levels are not high enough, you probably can't progress past World 1. And I'm not being dramatic when I say that. I think it's legitimately probably impossible for you, or highly unlikely for at least probably a few days, that you are not able to push past World 1. So Yeah, just keep that in mind. If you are starting out and you're rushing this, you probably will not be able to progress very far. Now, why is that? Let's get into the talents and just move away from the quest completion, actually talk about the talents themselves. So first of all, we have to talk about what changed in the update. So if you have jumped over to your Bubo and you clicked on Auspicious Aura, you may notice one thing immediately. The duration of Auspicious Aura is relatively low. Normally that would last much longer, but it actually disappears. I think this is placebo. Lava didn't specifically say he changed the duration in the patch notes, but it feels that way. It feels like Auspicious Aura. It doesn't stay up long enough, and so we aren't able to maintain it like the same level like we would on Tremor Worms, Cranium Cook farming, or Samurai Guardians. I feel placebo wise that this was affected somewhat, but ultimately the actual patch notes say that two things change with Auspicious Aura: the actual damage scaling. So instead of it being 3% per talent level, I think it's 0.6%, and then the tick rate of Auspicious Aura was changed. So if we were to kill mobs, it actually hits them slower. So this was pretty significant because Auspicious Aura used to be an instant kill type ability, which was the whole reason why like instant Cranium Cook, or like pretty quick 100% uptime of Cranium Cook was like a thing. Auspicious Aura was like the key cornerstone of cranium cooking. Not to say cranium cooking is dead, it's still good. It's just less easy, I guess, to cranium cook, and it's more of a pain. However, with the Arcane Cultist Ascension, the Masterclass, it's okay. It's balanced out a little bit with his talent. Again, we'll talk about this in just a second, but it's not, Bubo's not dead. Cranium cooking is not dead. It's just a little annoying. Auspicious Aura is not the main skill anymore, and now we rely on skulls more, and we'll talk about that in just a second. So let's stop talking about the changes and actually talk about what is new and what the talents are and such. So we'll go through it one by one, talk about it like normal. So first of all, the Arcanist form is the first talent. It is similar, almost exact replica of the Deathbringer and Windwalker forms, the Wraith mode and the Tempest form. It's pretty much the exact same. You put 1 point into it and it'll give you a little bit of damage, but also unlock the mode for how you use Arcanist form. So same as always for these classes, I actually recommend only putting 1 point into this if you're low in talent points. And actually, hold on, let's pause and actually talk about, I suppose, the big difference I noticed between Deathbringer, Windwalker, and this class. This class is very, and I mean very, talent point heavy. You need to, I'm not joking, you need to be at least level 650 to 675, maybe even 700 to even start playing Arcane Cultist, because you need a lot of these talents maxed out for you to be able to progress. So just, right off the bat, in addition to that, you need to have a bunch of minimum talent levels. If you're not at the very minimum 350 talent levels, you should not be playing Arcane Cultist very far. If you are able to complete the quest and at least unlock it and maybe get into World 2 potentially, I think you should probably stop there. To be completely honest, the Tesseract doesn't have, which is the, again, we'll talk about this. There's not a lot for you early game to really scale in terms of your account. I think you might be able to hit parallel statues and maybe spheres of gold, but there's nothing huge that's like game breaking that you need to play Arcane Cultist for right now. Now later on, upgrade 29, which there is no embargo against, does have Jewel of Deadly Wraith. So that is a new lab node. It'll give you percent increase to Deathbringer bones. So there's that, but it's very far down. And if you don't have 350 talents, you are not going to get there. So you can't really get anything meaningful out of the Arcane Cultist right now until there's changes to it. Okay, let's go back into talking about talents real quick. So let's restart this discussion. Arcanist form. So you enter, exit Arcanist form, similar to Deathbringer's Wraith mode and the Windwalker's Tempest form. This allows you to enter the Masterclass mode. Similar to Windwalker, it basically forces you going back to World 1 Town. You don't have the worlds unlocked like you do Deathbringer, so you have to progress it similar to Windwalker. There is a portal cost. The difference between Windwalker and Arcane Cultist is that it doesn't cost dust, or in this case tachyons. You actually have to kill a certain number of special mobs within a map within a specific time period. And if you don't kill them in the time period, it basically just resets the timer, resets your kill count, and it resets the crystal's progress. You have to try again within that time period. Nothing special, but that's how you progress the maps. So for that reason, progressing maps is very difficult, and we'll talk about that in a second when we get to the crystals talents and the backup energy talents. So let's move on to the second talent, is Tesseract. So Tesseract is the menu. It's essentially Grimoire for the Arcane Cultist. So I already showed it here. This is the Tesseract. You spend your resources and it upgrades things similar to both Deathbringer and the Vault in a very vertical fashion. So personally, I like this. I like this menu more than the Windwalker's Compass. Personally, I'm more biased towards this. So anyways, that's all it does. And upgrading it will just give you the an increase to tachyons found. So this is one of the better ones to upgrade. I wouldn't immediately put all of your points into this, especially if you're talent point starved, but this is definitely top 3 that you want to put your points into. Okay, next one is Arcane Skulls. So similar to Deathbringer and similar to Windwalker, where every single attack would fire off an axe, or every single attack would fire off an artillery ballista, or like at least one ballista arrow. This one fires skulls, and it changes the behavior of those skulls. So before in Bubo, Shaman, the skulls would just bounce, and that was the mechanics of it. So it would just bounce. It would go into an arc. If it hits a mob, it'll bounce back, and it'll hit another mob, and it'll bounce back the other way. Sizzling Skulls changes the mechanic of the skull itself. So instead of it bouncing and like reflecting off of mobs, it just goes into a straight line and pierces. So this is how it changes the mechanic of the ability. Additionally, when you auto attack, it'll fire out a skull, and it'll bounce between that platform just over and over again. And it has a timer on it, so eventually it will expire, and you won't be able to keep it up infinitely. So this is kind of a soft replacement for Auspicious Aura. So this is why I'm saying Bubo's not dead, Cranium Cooking is not dead, because the skulls, if you attack fast enough, especially outside of Arcane Cultist form, you will see that you fire a ton of skulls. And so Cranium Cooking it feels kind of good. I like the skulls, I'm not gonna lie, over Auspicious Aura. Auspicious Aura just wasn't like visual enough, but the skulls are. However, for this reason, because you can fire a lot of skulls, there is a potential for lag. So I haven't personally experienced, but it's entirely possible that this could be affecting people depending how many skulls you have, depending how many gas clouds are on the map. The skulls might actually contribute to a little bit of lag on your part, because there are so many things flying around in the map. So just be cautious of that, I guess. Increasing the talent here does increase the timer for this, so you can input more skulls on the map, but it doesn't increase the damage, or at least it doesn't say it does. It's just one point into this, make sure the skulls fire every single basic attack, and every single point after that, just make sure it lasts a little bit longer. So not high priority on talent levels, but it's still pretty good to max out, because the longer they are, the more mobs you can hit, and that means you get more damage output. Okay, moving on to the fourth talent, Arcane Crystals. So first of all, you may notice I only have 400 points into here instead of the 444 that I normally do from the rest of my talents. The reason being is because this talent itself has a 50 point breakpoint. So every 50 points gets you +1 of whatever it says. And what it does is this isn't a respawn mechanic, but it's essentially how you progress. So let's go into a map and talk about this, because things are going to get a little bit complicated. So number one, you place down a crystal. There's no timer on this. This is permanently up now, unless you leave the map. So if I go to a different map, this crystal doesn't follow me. I have to replace it down. This is crucial. This is very important. And when you enter a map and you're trying to progress that map, make sure you put down your crystal, because it does not follow you. Okay, so what is the crystal? What does leveling it up do? And what does the crystal do? And also, why are there 3 of them? Because there are 3 of them. So let's talk about that. Number one, leveling up the crystal itself. Actually, let me exit the arcane form so I can actually de-level this and show you what leveling it up does. So when you upgrade this from, I don't even have like pre-level 100. So normally base level gives you 3. It spawns 3 arcane mobs whenever you kill a specific amount of whatever the mob you're killing. So if I go back to Gmush and let this run for a little bit in the background, if I kill enough of the green mushrooms, it'll spawn Arcane Mobs. And what are Arcane Mobs? It's essentially the progression point. So when you look at the crystal, you see this bar at the top left kind of filling up slowly over time. This is how the progression mechanic works. When you enter a map, and I actually go to World 4 to show you this, and I guess we'll look at that in just a second. This is how the progression point, this is how you open portals on the guys, for example. So right now I'm at Flambage. I'll place down the crystal and we'll start going to town. You see at the top here, it says Arcane Flambage kills needed 70, time left, and I think it was 180 seconds or so. So I have 3 minutes essentially to kill 70 Arcane Mobs. This is where progression gets hard locked for a lot of people, because if you don't have the talent points for this, you cannot progress. It's physically impossible for you to progress the worlds. So you need to put a breakpoint of 50 into this crystal. There we go. And then I'll just go back to my 400 breakpoint that I had. And when this little bar fills up is when the Arcane Mobs actually spawn. And those are the things you need to kill in order to progress the actual portal requirements. So they're going to spawn here very shortly. And boom, there they are. So they have this crystal icon above them. You kill them and it'll tick down the portal. Now, you can still farm these. Well, if the map you're farming in doesn't require the portal, these crystal kills, for example, it's very beneficial for you to do that on very specific maps. And that brings us into the 5th talent here, which is Overwhelming Energy. During Arcanist form, defeating Arcane Mobs perma-buffs EXP, drop rate, or AFK for the current map up to a specific number, and it scales with your talent points. So more talent points you enter, it'll scale the bonus here. And when you click on the AFK info of the map, you'll see these 3 crystal icons at the top. The purple crystal corresponds to drop rate multiplier, the yellow crystal corresponds to EXP multiplier, and the blue crystal corresponds to AFK gain multiplier. So what that means is if you want to farm a specific map, and on that map you want to scale your character's drop rate, you would farm the purple crystal in Arcanist form on your Arcane Cultist, and you would kill a specific number of mobs indefinitely until you hit this cap from this talent right here. Now, how many kills do you actually need to scale this talent, or scale the AFK gains? Because this was a little bit confusing for people on start. They thought once you kill the crystal, it'll immediately give you the bonus. No, you have to click on the Arcane Crystals talent to actually show you how many more kills you need to upgrade that bonus in the AFK info. Because I progressed it a little bit and it's got a little bit far, for me it's 1080 more crystal kills, so Arcane Mobs that I need to kill for this drop rate multiplier, the 1.02, to go up more. So this scales, it's independent of each of the mobs. So instead of doing the purple crystal, I'm going to do the yellow crystal. If I go here, starting off, it only takes 99. So it does scale, it does ramp over time. So it's not like, it's not terrible to start. But this begs the question that Arcane Cultist is meant for 2 things. One, progressing actually the Masterclass and getting tachyons and upgrading your Tesseract and getting those bonuses and such for your account. However, you can also start scaling drop rate, EXP, and AFK gain multipliers on specific maps. So right off the bat, what maps do you want to farm for this? So drop rate, wherever your DK goes crystal farming, it'll affect the drop rate for your DK. So for example, where you do in World 1, board beans. World 2, sandy pots. Sandy pots you do particularly because you can giga scale the drop rate for glass shards. So you can farm up glass shards while you're farming up statues, for example. That's why I recommend sandy pots. World 3, you can do it on blood bones, for example, or on Neptunes. Neptunes is probably the more optimal one because you can get black lenses. So you can farm out Neptunes here. Neptune's actually a good farming spot for tachyons. We'll get to that in a second. So this is a good map to farm that on. And World 4 Clammies, obviously, Perlo shells are going to be huge here because you can farm up statues from World 4, but you can also farm up the Perlo shells so you can get more golden cakes for more drop rate and such. So, there's that. Outside of that, I mean, you have also EXP. If you were able to get the Samurai Guardians or Mini Chief Spirits, for example, you could scale the EXP multiplier there. For AFK gains, this is a very big one. So you may notice AFK gains is there. This is going to help you particularly on places like Gmush or Board Beans again, because you can actually affect the skilling nodes that are in those maps. So unfortunately, your ores don't get impacted by this. But for example, flies. If you want a higher fly print, you need to pump your AFK gains. And this is an AFK gain multiplier. So you want to kill sandy bots to scale the AFK gains that you have in that map. Additionally, for oak logs, for example, in Gmush is doubly impactful, not only for the oak log prints, but also for Gmush kills to scale the fungi finger pocketer in the lab for, money percent. So there's that. So keep that in the back of your mind when you're farming, or when you're done, when you've moved away from Arcane Cultist Tachyon farming, going and doing that farming for the crystals for scaling AFK gains or drop rate or EXP. That's something you can do and something you should take into consideration, especially even while you're progressing. It may be worth just dropping the crystal and dropping the specific crystal that you're trying to do, so AFK gains here, and just go into town. But keep in mind, it does specifically say you need to be in Arcanist form. I can guarantee you, I am putting $1 trillion on this. I will bet the entire US national GDP that someone is going to comment in my videos, I can't scale the crystal. And then I will say, are you in Arcanist form? And they will say, no. I thought you could do it outside. The talent specifically says you need to be in Arcanist form. Okay. I'm gonna move away. Take a sip of water from that. Sixth talent, Ghastly Power. So similar to Deathbringer and Windwalker, they have talents. Arcane Cultist has talents that scale based off the amount of bonuses you bought in the Tesseract. And again, the Tesseract is essentially the grimoire or the compass of Arcane Cultist. So every 100 upgrades that you get, Ghastly Power will give you both Arcanist damage and attack speed. This is a little bit unusual because we don't have attack speed scaler from Deathbringer. It has natural attack speed, which is scaled by cauliflower and potato chips and stuff like that. Windwalker does have attack speed from the compass, but doesn't have it in a talent form. So it's just a little bit different. This is a great one to level up. However, the next one is what I recommend putting a lot of points into, because accuracy is a huge problem for Arcane Cultist, and Ghoulish Power scales accuracy and defense per 100 Tesseract upgrades total. So similar to Ghastly Power, it just scales off of Tesseract. Now, I do want to rant a little bit about defense. Defense on Arcane Cultist, I think, is the most useless stat. I think, honestly, genuinely, this is like pissing in the ocean and trying to taste the piss. Okay, it's not, you're not going to be able to. There's just so much. I don't even know what I'm saying. Okay, you may notice I have 53 million HP. That's because your HP does not get reset in Arcane Cultist form. Okay, so that means you can just upgrade Goblet of Hemoglobin and you're fine. So why even have defense as a stat? Why would you need this? There is zero reason for defense to be a stat. There is no application I can see to where defense is actually needed to survive in Arcane Cultist form, simply because Goblet of Hemoglobin works. If you're telling me that you're dying in Arcane Cultist form, I'm sorry, you need to uninstall the game. It makes no sense. Anyways, these two talents I recommend trying to max out. Honestly, in terms of the talents we've spoken about so far, I would rate Arcane Crystals getting to your 50 breakpoint first, getting your Tesseract maxed out, getting Skulls at least 1 point into it for now. Ghastly Power probably below Ghoulish Power in terms of power, but the third one's pretty good. Early on, it's not that useful. Later on, it's pretty useful. It is Lobotomizer. Lobotomizer is kind of the crit talent, similar to Windwalker, similar to Deathbringer. This is the crit talent. However, this doesn't scale off of any particular skill efficiency or pet breedability. This scales off of your lab levels. So you need lab levels to get crit chance on your Arcane Cultist. This is part of the reason why I say if you're early game, you may struggle a little bit because you can't realistically get your crit chance to be particularly high. Right now I'm sitting at 85.5%. If I didn't have 400 and almost 50 talent levels, or sorry, laboratory levels, I would not be approaching this level of crit chance. So this talent alone is giving me more than half of my crit chance right now. So let that sink in. Okay, the next talent is individuality. This was bugged unreleased. I think it actually gave you agility, or it said it gave you agility. Now it says wisdom, but essentially this is just more base wisdom. So, put 1 point into it for now. Primo Prisma. Okay, so Prisma Bubbles. So Prisma Bubbles, we knew were going to be obtainable through the Arcane Cultist Masterclass. So this talent just says you have a higher chance of dropping Prisma Bubbles. The way you actually drop Prisma Bubbles comes at a later upgrade very early on in the Tesseract. You buy this upgrade, it's just 1 point, and you can start dropping Prisma Bubbles. The way this works is you will drop fragments. So those 10 fragments you need to collect for one Prisma Bubble thing. You drop the 1 point into there and you can start dropping it. The drop rarity of it is worse in World 1. It's better in World 2, better in World 3, better in World 4, better in World 5, better in World 6. So as you progress the worlds, you have a higher chance of dropping Prisma Bubbles. However, when you drop one and pick it up, note, pick it up, it'll decrease your odds of dropping your next one. So something to give you note about, Prisma Bubbles do not auto loot. You have to pick them up yourself. That is particularly significant because people are going to miss it. So you may be thinking to yourself, is it possible you can lock yourself out of getting any Prisma Bubbles at all? No. So if you leave the map with a Prisma Bubble on the ground without you having picked it up, it will, before you leave the map, it'll register that a Prisma Bubble has dropped and it'll decrease your odds. However, if you leave the map, it'll recognize you haven't picked it up and it will increase your odds for the Prisma Bubble. So there's no fear, have no fear. You will not lock yourself out of getting Prisma Bubbles. You can simply farm them and go back to it. Your odds will stay the same. It's completely okay. So no worries at all about that. Cool. Anyways, and this talent just makes it easier to find Prisma Bubbles. So you can max this out. Actually, no, sorry, I wouldn't max this out. Just put 1 point into it. You can worry about farming Prisma Bubbles when you hit your hard lock. For Arcane Cultist, you can come back to this and level this up. It's just not important in terms of progressing if you're trying to progress Arcane Cultist. Okay, next ones. The next 3 talents are specific to summoning. So this first talent, Essential Essence. This is a this is a huge upgrade. So this makes it so summoning upgrades are cheaper for every 100 summoning upgrades you purchased. So if you have purchased a ton of levels, you will get a huge cost reduction in your essence for summoning. So you can really juice out your summoning based off this talent alone. The next one is also pretty good. It multiplies the amount of summoning EXP you get, and you can also double the chance at you getting a summoning familiar. So whenever you buy those upgrades, suppose let me go to World 6 and actually show you what I'm talking about. The summoning familiar upgrade from summoning in the summoning window. Wow, it's just rambling. This one upgrade, this one right here. So whenever you collect this and upgrade this, there's a chance instead of you getting a white slime, you get a Vrumby, or instead of a Vrumby, you'll get the Bloomy or Guardian. I don't know, man. Whatever the next one is. Yeah, so it'll just. Oh, sorry, no, it'll give you double, right? That's what it says. I can't read. It'll just give you double. So instead of getting 1 slime, you get 2. Instead of giving a Vrummy, you get 2 Vrummy. I don't know, something like that. But you just get 2 familiars instead of summoning 1. So effectively, it'll give you like 1.5 familiars for every time you click this button, up to 10 times every 3 days. So this is a pretty good one, notably for the summoning EXP gain, particularly. The third one here is the summoning doublers from the Gambit Cavern give the upgrade an additional multi. So this makes your summoning doublers like insane, like actually crazy. So instead of going from 10 to 20% on seeing red, I go from 10 to 27. Instead of my spikes going from 20% of my base damage to 53 to 53. Whenever I hover over a mob, I'm doing 50% of my base damage. It's like I'm hitting them with a slime every 2 clicks. That's insane. Okay, so as you level this up, the multiplier will scale even higher. So you also may notice that it says 122 multi, but this went from 20 to 43. Talk about that in a second. This second to last one, Tachyon Truth, for this affects No Bubble Left Behind. It'll give you an increased chance to get +3 levels per power of 10 Tachyons you've collected. So by progressing the mechanic, it just means that every single daily reset, you'll get a higher bubble level on the reset based off your lab notes. So it's good. I mean, if you're early game, it impacts you. If you're late game, this is literally nothing because you may have pushed 1500 bubble levels, which means No Bubble Left Behind doesn't work for you anymore. So, you know, who cares? Or actually, it might level up your specific these power bubbles. So the wand power, bow power, because you can't add them these, and these take E200 something plus bits to use. So, you know, whatever, those are going to get hit and level up a little bit faster to 1500, but you know, for all intents and purposes, you're probably not going to see it. Okay, and the last one, this is the best talent for progressing the Arcane Cultist form, Backup Energy. It gives you a multiplier to Tachyon gains, which is great, and -8 crystals needed to charge arcane crystals. So what does that mean? So going back to this talent, you may have noticed I've already talked a little bit about it and I kind of brushed over. The arcane crystal has a bar on it. So whenever you kill mobs, it'll start filling up that bar. Whenever you fill it up, it'll spawn the crystal, the arcane mobs that you need to progress the map. So by decreasing the amount of mobs you need, it means you can push the portal faster. So this is a mandatory upgrade if you're trying to push the form. So, I mean, not only because it decreases the amount you need to charge the crystal with, but it also increases your Tachyon gains. It's a multiplier to Tachyon gains. This is really important for you to max out. You don't want to try and hit a specific breakpoint, just put all of your points into it so you get that multiplier. Okay, so what was I saying? The crystal mobs. Yeah, so it'll make it easier to push the portals. That's really important. So these crystals have a specific bar, and there's a specific number of mobs that you need to kill in order to open, to spawn those mobs. The exact amount is found a little bit later. There's an upgrade in the Tesseract that'll specifically tell you how many mobs you need to kill for the crystal to spawn these arcane mobs. It's called Arcane Charging. It's a little bit down. It's you probably get to see it like in World 2 or so, maybe a little bit less. So it's not too far down, but it's you know, it's decent. It's not going to see it in World 1 is what I'm saying. So it takes these brown tachyons here in order to upgrade. It takes, yeah, like I said, it takes 200 normally, and then with the talent it drops it down, whatever that talent is, and then whenever you spend upgrades into this, it'll start decreasing it even further. So this is a great talent to max out for the tachyon gain multiplier, but also for the reduction of the mobs needed to spawn the crystal stuff. Also arcane crystal getting it to 50 breakpoint. These two are mandatory for progressing. If you don't have a high enough level into these talents, you're going to get locked in one of two places. Number one, Globlins. Globlins go from 5 to 10. So normally the portal takes the portal in World 1 usually takes 5 mobs. When you get to Globlins, that numbers goes from 5 to 10. So if you're early game, there's a chance you might be locked out here. So because you don't have 10 mobs in one crystal form. Globlins also kind of a bad map, so it requires you to kill a bunch of Globlins and also you know, I think early on, kill 200 of them. So you need to kill 200 Globlins within, I think, 3 or 4 minutes, which doesn't sound that daunting, but it's, I've heard people get locked here for a little bit of time. So if you like really have low talent levels, it's entirely possible you might just lock yourself out this early. So again, this would not be the class for you to play. I think it's more important for you to focus on class levels, focus on trying to upgrade your divinity, trying to push Deathbringer for the Skull of Major Talent so you get the +30 minimum talent levels. All that stuff's going to come together to help you with that. If you guys are curious about minimum talent levels, I recommend looking at the wiki, looking at Idleon Toolbox. It'll give you a breakdown if you look at your character specific pages, or wiki will tell you kind of the minimum talent levels that you need. So please use those as resources if you need, because I can't remember off the top of my head all the different sources of it. There's so many at this point. Like Elemental Sorcerer, for example, is one of them as well. One of the family bonuses you can do. So, you know, just keep in the back of your mind that if your talent levels are less than 350, you're going to have a hard time in this class. The next lock you'll face, which if you're pre 350, you will definitely get locked on, is Sandy Pots. Instead of taking 10 or 15, it takes 20 crystal kills to kill. So if you have 350 talents, you have 10 arcane mobs to spawn. So you can drop down the crystal, proc it twice, and you'll be able to progress Sandy Pots just fine. However, if you're at 300, you're going to proc 9, which means you need to proc the crystal 3 times in order for you to progress. So keep that in mind. If you are at 350 talents, your next big lock that you need to overcome is going to be Pincermans. The reason Pincermans is bad is just because the map layout is terrible. So if you aren't, I'm not going to lie, I feel like you need 400 talents for this to be possible to pass, because it, decreases the amount you need. It will increase the arcane mobs you get per charge. It just makes it more reliable. Additionally, you also hit the next breakpoint for Tentacle, so you can reduce your attack cooldowns a little bit faster, to spawn more skulls, to spawn Auspicious Aura, to raise dead more often. So Pincerman is a soft little bit of a lock for people. Off the top of my head, I don't know anyone with 350 talents that's made it pass, but it's entirely possible. I'm just saying you're going to have a very hard time getting pretty much into World 3 or trying to push sheepies, for example, because I think in World 3, the crystal breakpoint, it goes from 20 to 40. And just by the way, Toolbox has all this information, like what specific maps, pull it up actually, what the crystal requirement for each of the maps are. I'm fact checking myself live right now. So if I go to Tesseract on class specific, go to maps. So World 1, spores, frogs, all that stuff. Oh, wait, hold on. I haven't completed some of the World 1 stuff, so I can actually kind of showcase the portal requirement and how easy it is to push it, because I have pretty high talent levels. So there you go. 5. So, I'll just sit here and open the portals and such, So this will be particularly easy because it only takes 5 and I summon 11 and it doesn't take that much to spawn. So World 1's pretty forgiving. It actually has a ton more seconds. It takes 360 seconds for the Styx map. I was actually mistaken, because World 4 I've been so used to only takes 180 seconds, I believe. And World 5 takes 160 seconds. So yeah, as you progress the world, not only will the crystal requirement go up, the timer goes down, and you need more mobs to kill. So yeah, going from World 1, you go from 5 to 10, and then World 1 to World 2, you go from 10 to 20, and then going from World 2 to World 3, you go from 20 to 40, and then going from World 3 to World 4, you go from 40 to 70. All the while, the timer is going down, so you have less time. You're in more of a crunch time to kill those mobs. And here we go. Sorry, the Styx have spawned. Also, something to mention, which I forgot to talk about here, is the crystal mobs themselves. So I will showcase this in just a second. Bring it here to these guys. All right. Cool. So, yeah, so as you progress the worlds, the timer goes down, the kill requirement goes up, so things just get kind of exponentially harder, kind of. So once you hit World 4, for sure, 400 talent level, World 3, 400 talent levels, you're not progressing. Sorry, call it quits. You're over. Arcane Cultist is done. There's no chance for you. It's just extremely hard. The kill requirement's too high. The time requirement's a little too low. You can't reliably kill large swaths of these arcane mobs. You're gonna have a pretty hard time. Okay, I think you've qualified for summoning the arcane mobs. I think we're good. Almost. Oh yeah. Okay, so they have spawned. So I want to showcase something as well. So something I skipped over in the arcane skulls, which is going to be very, very important for you guys to realize. Arcane mobs can only get hit with things that can do arcane damage. So I think there are a few skills that don't specifically say they are arcane damage, but you can still do it on the mobs anyways and kill them. I think, for example, Poisonous Concoction is one of them. Crazy Concoctions. So by all means, if you basic attack these mobs, unless you have a specific Tesseract upgrade, you're not going to be able to kill them. You may also notice that there's gas on the floor, but it's not killing the nuttos. That's because gas is not arcane damage. However, the skulls, they are. So you can cast the skull, and that's how you kill the mobs. So Auspicious Aura, I don't believe works. The Gas clouds, they don't work. Skulls work, and initially your basic attacks do not work, and I don't believe your basic attacks actually fire off the skulls if you don't hit the mobs. So it's kind of a double effect suckiness, I guess. There's an upgrade, like I said, later in the Tesseract to where your basic attacks do arcane damage. It's right here, arcane basics. Basic attacks now do arcane damage, which means you can hit those mobs and actually summon the skulls, but also do a little bit of damage to them. Okay, cool. Take a breather for just a second. And let's talk about farming paths. So going back to World 1. So if you're in World 1, my honest advice is just upgrade as you go and try to push the maps as far as you can. Once you get to woad boards, I would honestly stop and farm a little bit here. So farm up woad boards, get a bunch of tachyons and start spending it into damage, accuracy, and stuff. As I mentioned, accuracy is a big problem for Arcane Cultist, so don't neglect those upgrades in particular. That's why I recommend maxing out the Ghoulish Power one first, because it gives you accuracy, and then focusing on damage and attack speed are going to be nice, but not more important than accuracy. Farm road boards here, these guys drop, and as always, you can reference the cards for what the mobs drop. They will tell you in the cultist form. These drop purple tachyons. Purple tachyons are the first ones, and then there's brown tachyons as the second ones. I don't know why they're called brown tachyons, because they got a little bit of blue in them as well. I can see how this is called green tachyons or red tachyons, but why is this brown if it's got blue in it? I don't know, man. So brown tachyons you would farm at the poops map. So you would go to the poops map, you'd farm this out, and they drop brown tachyons, so you can farm them out here. So that's a good one to farm. But once you get into World 2, World 2 has a few different maps. So number 1, Sandcastle. Sandcastle is a great spot for you to farm purple tachyons. These two platforms that you spawn here. And again, I would put the crystal kind of on the platform to where the mobs are. I think it's also something I kind of glanced over. Put the crystal on where the mobs spawn. Don't put your crystal like right here, for example, because that means your arcane mobs are going to spawn on a platform where you're not naturally hitting, which means your skulls aren't going to naturally be there. So you're not going to be able to naturally kill these mobs anyways. So put it on a platform to where your mobs naturally spawn. And then, just press auto and forget about it, honestly. Manually attacking an arcane form is not going to be useful until you get to World 4. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, this is where you want to farm the T1 tachyons. Now, when it comes to T2s, I would still farm at poops for a while until you are able to get to Snellbees. Snellbees is a single platform. All right. Aside from the random event mob, is a single platform map. So it is very, very easy to farm tachyons here. So you drop down the crystal, and this is a pretty good map for farming those T2 tachyons, or the brown tachyons. You'll kind of hear me say that reversibly. And then when you are able to progress the worlds and get from World 2 to World 3, I talk about how to get to the next world. You kill the boss. You kill the boss. That's how you get there. Okay, this video is so scuffed already. So similarly, if you make it past the sheepy lock, and again, this is a big thing for people. Some people don't have enough accuracy or damage and are locked here for a little bit. You're going to be farming World 2 for probably a day, to be completely honest with you, before you are able to enter World 3 and get really any reliable rates out of here. But the best thing early on is going to be Sir Stashes for brown tachyons. I honestly think Tyson's as a map in World 2 are better. And as you get accuracy, going from Sandcastles to Tyson's are going to be where you want to farm T1 tachyons for a while. So Sandcastles, if you can do it. Tyson's, if you can do it, are even better. And then Snellbees for World 2. And then World 3, as you progress it, Sir Stashes is great for brown tachyons. And then Blokes are going to be good for green tachyons, the tier 3 tachyons, until you can do Rams a little bit. Until you can do Thermistors a little bit later. Sorry, things have changed in recent days because of the hotfix. So for me, it was Rams for a little bit, and then it became Thermistors for a bunch of people after the hotfix. So anyways, Thermistors are going to be replacing Blokes a little bit later into World 3, but T1 tachyons are going to want at Mammoths. Mammoths are a fantastic map for it. So you want to drop your crystal on one of these platforms and just go to town on it. So this is a great map to farm these T1 tachyons, and it's the best place to farm it in the entirety of World 3. And then going back again, Sir Stashes was the best place for brown tachyons. I didn't find a replacement for this. Green tachyons, again, Blokes, thermistors, and eventually once you have exactly 1,250 accuracy, which is the 5% accuracy number for rams, it's going to beat out both blokes and thermistors. So rams are difficult. They have a lot of HP. They previously didn't require this much accuracy. I do want to specifically say that there was a hotfix on day 1, day 2, where lava increased the accuracy requirement for rams and blood bones. So previously, blood bones historically have always had an accuracy requirement of 150. So there was a meta strategy to where you wanted to kill rams as quickly as possible so you can get to blood bones, because you could farm the T4 tachyons at blood bones, and blood bones still right now, until you get to flambage, were the best T4 tachyon upgrade, and we'll talk about why this was so impactful in just a second, because there's still something I haven't talked about, which is gearing. So we'll get to that as we discuss the worlds and the farming spots. So rams were a great spot for tier 3 tachyons. If you could push the portal open, eventually blood bones became the best spot. However, now with the accuracy problems and blood bones requiring 3,900 accuracy, it is not possible for you to hit here until you hit the upgrade in the Tesseract called Idleon Hoarding. So right now, the 5% accuracy cap for these guys were 1,300. You may be able to push open the portal. Sorry, actually, let me rephrase that. Until you get to 20% accuracy on rams, you wouldn't be able to open the blood bones portal because it's so inconsistent in pushing. So you need 20% accuracy here, which is somewhere in the 2000s accuracy range. And the only way to get that is going to be by pushing Idleon Hoarding, or by ignoring all the upgrades and just focusing accuracy and being very inefficient about it. But by all means, upgrade your cheapest upgrade in the Tesseract and get to Idleon Hoarding as fast as you can, because it'll blow open World 3 for you. And we'll talk about why in just a second. Before we do that, let's talk about World 4. And this is where the guide's essentially going to stop, because if you don't have 400 talents, goodbye. World 4 is just not going to be something for you to do, because you're going to be hard locked by purple mushrooms, because it takes 70 mobs to kill within 180 seconds, I think it is, to open this portal. So there's no possible way, if you don't have 400 talents, you're going to get here, because you're not going to have the 11 arcane mobs here, the -8 second cooldown, the 400 tentacle. There's so many things working against you. World 4 is just not possible. Arcane Cultist is done. Goodbye. Move away. Okay, but if you are able to progress World 4, congratulations, you're an end gamer. And the best spots early game for you to farm are going to be TVs for T1 tachyons here. It's going to be donuts for tier 2 or the brown tachyons. It's going to be gelatinous cuboids for the tier 3 tachyons. And then it's going to be blood bones for the vast majority of people, but eventually flambage does overtake in terms of the tier 4 tachyon spot. So there's that. A little bit of disclaimer. People are going to struggle hard, and I mean struggle hard. No, I can't say that. It's against terms of service. They're going to be very hard locked into Biggole moles because these mobs are stagnant. They do not move. In fact, I think I had some very notable endgamers crashing out and accusing people of cheating in my Discord because they found out the tech to complete this way earlier than anyone else did, and he couldn't respond to comments because he was asleep. So anyways, this caused a ton of frustration because people were accusing people of cheating because they were able to push past Biggole moles. So there's a big disclaimer here. Biggole moles is a huge cap for people in World 4. It is extremely hard to get past these. Because it requires very manual techniques that I will not get into in this video that are they're not like exploits or anything. It's just natural movement mechanics you would expect in Idleon, just a little bit taken to the next level. Basically, well, I guess I'll get into it now. Basically, you just drop down the crystal, attack the mob 3 times on this bottom platform. Spawn the crystal 3 times on this bottom platform. And then you would cycle up to this platform right here where these 2 are. Attack once, spawn the skull. Attack once here, spawn the skull. Attack once here, spawn the skull. Go back to the bottom. Attack 3 times, spawn 3 skulls. and then repeat the cycle, ignoring this mob down here, the single mob down here, and then go back up here, go back up here, go back up there, recycle and repeat, and hope that you kill 70 of these Biggole Mole arcane mobs within the 180 second timer that you have. It is a very narrow window. I think I beat it with 2.3 seconds remaining or so, and that's the story for pretty much everyone. It requires you to spend days farming in World 4, potentially weeks if you didn't buy those time skips and use them efficiently, but it takes a lot of effort to be able to push World 4. And then once you hit World 5, that is the hard cap for everyone right now. It is not possible. I repeat, it is not possible to push past Sugmas in World 5. So we are at the end of progression already for Arcane Cultist. Like, we are done in World 5 because the portal requirement goes from 70 in World 4 with 180 seconds to 170 in World 5. More than double with a 20-second time reduction. And if you're wondering what World 6 is, by the way, it is 250 kills with 120 seconds. GG. Okay. Whew. Okay, last thing that we want to talk about for Arcane Cultist is actually, I wanted to save this for last because of how different it is from Windwalker and how welcome of a change this is. So you may notice my gear is a little bit different. That's because I have a new wand and 2 new rings. So let's talk about these because these are Arcane Cultist upgrades. So similar to Windwalker, the Arcane Cultist has specific gear to it. So you unlock this gear, the ability to drop this gear within the Tesseract. Very early on, you'll get wand drops. Mobs drop Arcanist weapons up to 300% or sorry, X% quality. It goes up by 5%, I think, per level. So first thing to note here is what the fuck is quality? I apologize for swearing. I didn't mean that. I just kind of slipped out. What is quality? Quality is essentially just a rating of how good the weapon is that you drop. So it doesn't show up as a stat on the weapon. It's a hidden thing in the background of the code. It just tells the code, like, is it more likely this rolls with higher weapon power, with higher misc Arcanist damage, or higher extra tachyons? That's essentially all it is. So pumping quality actually is pretty important. From the code diggers that I've seen in my Discord, it seems hitting 25% quality is good because it'll increase your odds of rolling higher misc stats and weapon power. So you want to try to upgrade this in 25% increments or every 5 levels to get the most effect out of this. So I just wasted tachyons here, for example. So I don't know exactly what the ranges are on everything, but it seems that the range for speed is between 3 and 7. So you can go 3. I think 3 is sluggish, then you go to slow, then medium, then fast, very fast, and like I don't know what the 7th one is. All right, yeah, I guess very fast would be the 7th one. And then the misc stats, I can't remember the lowest range roll, but the highest I've seen is 62, 65%. And the extra tachyons, I've seen it go up to 40, 45%. I don't know what the specific roll ranges are on them, but they are quite wide. In fact, I think I have some backups. I have a 60-17 misc on the 38 weapon. And then the rings we'll talk about in just a second as well. Didn't mean to spoil that. Apologize. But yeah, so there's that. So the wand is good because it'll help you get damage, because weapon power is very, very important for Arcane Cultist. You can see here my damage went from 73,000 to 527,000 with a 38 weapon power wand. Now, specifically, I do want to say weapon power is specifically mentioned. The calculation for it, if you click on the question mark for wand drops, it'll say every single weapon power is a 1.04 times damage multi-stack. So Windwalker, I believe, was 1.1. And Arcane Cultist is 1.04. So weapon power here on Arcane Cultist is lower than what Windwalker was. Now, I could be misquoting that, but off the top of my head, my conspiracy math is telling me it was 1.1. So weapon power seems to scale a little bit worse on Arcane Cultist. However, it's still good. For that reason, if you jump 3 weapon power from like 35 to 38, but the misc stat for Arcanist damage is like wildly different, that 35 staff might be better if it rolls like 60% versus a 20% or 10% on the other staff, for example. So keep that in mind when you're comparing. Just look at the damage you get, and as you progress a little bit later, consider keeping 2 sets of gear, one gear specifically for damage and accuracy for rings, and also having one specifically for farming, for tachyon gain. Okay, so that's staffs. Essentially, weapon power is a little bit nerfed from Windwalker. The damage stat carries a little bit more weight now, and the extra tachyons is nice. If you can get a high roll of that, that's great. But again, damage is what you want to prioritize there. Now, rings also drop. So rings drop pretty far down into the stat page here, into the Tesseract. They drop right here after Arcanist of all trades. You'll get this roughly world 3, and you'll unlock this upgrade roughly in world 3. However, like I said with Bloodbones, you will not be able to see this until you get to Idleon Hoarding. So you will not be able to unlock rings until you get roughly here in the Tesseract. Now, obviously, this kind of slows progression because a lot of your accuracy is going to come from rings. I'm right now at 8.13, and with my 32% and 15% rings, I go from 8.13 to 12k, so I gain 4,000 accuracy, which is roughly, I mean, that makes sense. It's roughly a 50% increase, so I gained roughly 50% of my accuracy. That's pretty insane. It's just a straight multiplier to your accuracy, and I'm pretty far progressed. Like, I'm in world 4 and I'm only at 12k accuracy. That should again spell that accuracy is a huge problem for Arcane Cultist, and so these rings are a good, like, kind of band-aid fix to it in the interim. So again, rings you can only unlock when you get to world 3, and you can only unlock it after you get to Idleon Hoarding for another Arcanist accuracy upgrade. So once you get to Bloodbones, they actually fall pretty easily, and pre-hotfix, these dropped like 0.2 per Bloodbones. So instead of getting 80 per kill, we got a very small amount. It took hours to farm rings, but post-hotfix it drops 80. So it's a little bit better with a trade-off of you not being able to kill them immediately. So that kind of sucked. So yeah, dropping it here, I start killing them, and you can see my numbers already hit like 100k. With me killing like the first mob, I was able to get rings post hotfix. So this was pretty welcome. But yeah, eventually world 3 accuracy very much slows down until you get to Idleon Hoarding. Then once you get to Idleon Hoarding, you're able to blow past world 3 pretty quickly, assuming you have the right talent point setup and distribution, and you are able to approach world 4. For me, I blew past purple mushrooms, and I think I was stopped at, where was I? I think it was roughly, no, it wasn't. I think it was stopped at Biggole Moles. Like, I blew past purple mushrooms, went straight to Biggole Moles, and then I wasn't able to push Biggole Moles until today, until very recently. So yeah, there's the gearing. We talked about the talent point progression. Let's talk about the action bar, I guess, as a last little thing. So people are going to differ in what they recommend here. My opinion, what I recommend is you have Cranium Cook here, you have Raised Dead, you have Skull, and then you have Auspicious Aura. Now, Flatulent Spirit, like I said, doesn't do anything for actually hitting arcane mobs, so it won't help you kill them. It'll help you kill the rest of the mobs faster. That being said, the damage scaling on the gas clouds is extremely bad, so it's entirely possible how you can kind of, well, you can't really see here because my skulls are killing everything, but it's entirely possible you're not going to one-shot mobs until you get like multi-kill range for these mobs. So the gas clouds themselves are not really that good, to be completely honest with you. They'll add a little bit of DPS, but it's not going to make or break the game for you necessarily. So it's a little bit of a debate whether you want to put any like gas clouds aside from the poison cloud here. I think the poison cloud is worth to put, particularly because it not only drops the gas cloud, but when it hits a poison mob, it'll do 200% damage. And that's the key there. It'll help you kill at least like 1, 2, 3 mobs here and there. And that's good enough, especially in the world where we are, where the crystal itself takes 150 mobs to kill. Every individual kill that you put counts. Now, for that reason, I hear people in the comments, and I hear this in my Discord all the time. For that reason, why wouldn't you put the chemical warfare? I think because it's a little bit too inconsistent, because it's going to be too far down the talent bar. It's almost never going to proc, and you're going to spread gas via these clouds anyways. The ghosts anyways, these spirits, they're going to drop the clouds anyways, and that's going to be good enough for you. So the talent bar, this is generally just what I recommend. On the second page is where I have my crystal, just because I don't have really anywhere else. I liked my Tesseract on the first page, so I can just go quickly upgrade my upgrades, and I can just drop the crystal. And like I said, this is a once per map drop. You don't need to worry about this unless you change zones. So you just drop this on your other page and be fine. And similarly, I have the Arcane Cultist swap on the other page as well, so don't actually click it. Okay, so there's that. I think that's pretty much it for the video. We talked a lot. It's been an hour, just me rambling. I think this is longer than most of the other videos, are roughly the same time frame, but I think we went over a lot. I think we talked about it a lot. Last thing I do want to say is that, as always, our Discord, it does constantly update information about the Arcane Cultist. We're constantly talking about it, especially since it's new. In fact, I have a resource in the sorry, our organized tips and tricks sections. I've gone through and I've written up a little bit of a guide for people to start using. Hide that, Discord. So essentially, a written form of this video is kind of here giving you a bunch of cautions. Again, just going over, you kind of need 400 talent levels. You need like 350 talent levels early on for World 2. You need roughly level 650 or even 675. I'm now upping that to 700 because it's just really, really good. Here's a little bit of talent progression by Crit. Thank you so much, Crit. It's essentially the talent point progression we talked about already. Here's a few walls of progression. Here are the best spots to farm for different tachyons. All of this stuff for you guys to reference in written form. And obviously, we are currently updating it. I just couldn't finish everything all at once. Hopefully, this formatting is good for you guys. But if you want a written kind of talk about this, please join the Discord. Links in the description. And as always, things are going to be updated as we learn more and more about Windwalker, Arcane Cultist. So I wish you guys best of luck. I'll see you guys in the next video. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know where you are in the Arcane Cultist grind. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Hey guys, I just want to say as a last thing, thank you to all of my Twitch subscribers and YouTube channel members. You guys really help the channel grow and really motivate me to continue making videos. If you guys do also want to support me on YouTube, it's just $1 a month for a channel subscription at the lowest tier. You can choose to give more if you want. Just want to say that. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate your support. Have a great day. Bye.